After the negative move is complete, the hitter moves into the positive move or their forward move, which usually includes a stride. Some hitters like Josh Donaldson will have a leg kick. Other hitters like Albert Pujols will have no stride, but there is a positive move. For years, it's been called weight shift. That's not a term I personally like. I like positive move or forward move better, or your stride. It is part or can be part of the load with the negative move, and we'll talk about that later, how those work together. When that positive move occurs, we have separation of the hands from the body, or we should. So this is when our scap load occurs. The later that happens for most hitters, the better. This helps us to create tension and stretch in the body, and during this time we'll also see the shoulders turn inward and maybe point the numbers on the back of the jersey towards the pitcher. During this time, it's critical and crucial to maintain dynamic balance as we move the center of mass forward to the pitcher. At the end of the forward move, we'll typically be at toe touch or heel drop in an attacking positions with the shoulders slightly angled down or level and the back of the jersey numbers turned slightly towards the pitcher. You may also see the pelvis or hips begin to open during this time. One of the things that I can't reiterate enough is the maintenance of dynamic balance as we move the center of mass. So if you think about the center of mass being the relationship of the nose to the belly button, if they're completely stacked over each other, perpendicular to the ground during the stance. So as you see in this video here, if this line right there is perfectly parallel, during the forward or the negative move, we may see that move back. And as we see that move in the forward move, right here, the end of the forward move, we should see that pretty much maintain itself, and the integrity of that line should stay either perpendicular or maybe even slightly angled forward. So the nose might be in front of the belly button. So his belly button might be like that in this video. Now, what I've got here is a video of several hitters, some of the same ones that we looked at before. We'll play it through, and I want you to just watch how they go from their negative move to the forward move. The balance is critical here as they're moving forward, and there's several different styles of movement that I have in this video, from leg kicks to no strides, guys that maintain the backside with little negative move, guys that have more of a rock into their negative move before the positive move. Some that begin their hip turns earlier than others, so their hips are turning as they're doing their forward move. Others that aren't opening their hips until the heel drops. So the timing of that is going to be highly individual, dependent on mobility and their movement profile. So as we go through these videos again, let's just keep an eye on how the negative move transitions. Here for Torres, he has a negative move, and now as he's moving forward, everything is controlled and balanced, and he's maintaining his upper body almost like a scaffolding as he moves forward. So that center of mass is under great control. Once he's at toe touch here, you can see he's at that negative shoulder angle. His shoulders are down, and he's got his shoulders turned in, and his hands are back, and they've separated. The same thing here for Chris Davis. Less of a negative move with his whole body, but when he's down into toe touch, he plants that heel, and you can see he's got the negative shoulder angle, similar to Torres, and you can actually see his hips have started to open up there. Now with Brett has the sway back with his upper body. As he moves forward, he's already separated his hands, but he maintains that separation into his forward move. And he's pretty closed up with his shoulders. The hip turn hasn't quite begun at toe touch. Justin Turner, very little negative move, if any at all. This is a really good illustration of how he has that forward lean, but he's still controlling his center of mass as he moves forward. Very, very under control. And what I love about this one is that forward lean basically goes from the nose all the way down to that back leg. But he's got such good control, and his hands and his scap load happen right there. And they're lower than some of the other guys. So this is a very, very individual thing with the load of the hands and the scap load. Now right at toe touch for him, he gets into that heel, and his hips have already started to turn. So as you can see, some of these people begin their shoulder or their hip turn during their forward move. Ramirez, another one that has a leg kick with almost a negligible negative move other than his hands. And you can see as he's doing his forward move, those hands are turning back. Very classic turn of the knob to the catcher. His toe touches. Here's the end of his forward move. Again, a nice downward attacking angle with the shoulders. Gets into that front hip, and it starts to turn when the heel drops. Then he delivers the bat. Bellinger, very narrow, upright stance. His forward move is accompanied with a load of the hands just by turning. So there's very little negative move. There's no negative move with anything except the hands. And he's starting to turn his hips even before he gets to the ground. There he's at the ground. His shoulders are more level, but he's still not working up with the shoulders, which is critical. And then he's through the ball. And then a much different wide stance, almost a no stride. Juan Soto, he's got a negative move where he loads that back hip, picks his foot up, very small stride, gets into toe touch, but he's maintaining a really strong upper body. So his load, his hand separation is small because they're already pulled back. And his forward move starts to happen more with his back knee. You see that. So his forward move is very small, and he comes forward a little bit there. So the timing of his forward move is very different because his stride is very different than the other guys we've had. And then Mookie Betts, just a tremendous move here. Forward, forward, forward. And that stretch, huge stretch. Hips are starting to turn. And you can see those shoulders. Again, he's one of those guys that he has more of level shoulders. There's a slight down. But you can see the turning in of the numbers to the pitcher. And then he's unloading on the ball. And then lastly, Vlad Jr. Forward move, controlling everything. Forward, toe touch. Hips are slightly opening to the ball. So the key takeaways here are during that forward move, we need to maintain the center of mass through dynamic balance. We need to make sure there's some kind of separation of the hands from the body prior to completely unloading on the ball. And we also need to make sure that we're allowing the hitter to open the hips properly with their stance and load. So each hitter is going to be slightly different on the way that they're loading, but we want that upper body to load during the forward move, not prior to. If that upper body is loading during the negative move and we're not holding the upper body back, like in the George Brett example, we're going to have a difficult time of creating any kind of stretch or tension. So most of these guys, other than Torres and Brett, are having a very, very late load with their upper body during the forward move of their center of mass. So separating the center of mass as it moves forward from the hand separation is a critical thing that we need to make sure all of our hitters are doing, especially the weaker ones, because the weaker they are, the harder it is going to be for them to scap load and to maintain that scap load during the forward move. So if they load the upper body early, during the negative move, they're probably going to bring the hands through early during the positive move.